Clicked the wrong button, folks. Hello, everybody. We already got that emoji rain going on. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, everybody. Can you all hear us okay? I know we were having some microphone issues the last time. Had the weirdest commercial for this stream. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry, Alice. Good to see you all. Charlie, Joshua, we got Colin, we got Alice, we got Nick. Gang is all here. What's up? What is up, guys? Literally. So I'm assuming if you guys are here, I mean, maybe if you're not a fan of The Last of Us, you're just here to chill. That is okay as well. Sabersmith, what's going on?
What's up?
But I'm assuming if you're here, you, like us, have just finished watching The Last of Us. Oh, we got Jerry here. Let's go. Squad is in the house. But yes, Tom and I both, we just finished watching that season finale, and we knew we were probably going to want to talk about it. So we were like, let's just schedule a little bit of a dork discourse and see what everyone is feeling, because I know I want to hear what other people have to say about that. Specifically, people, if you have not played the game, because Tom and I both immediately agreed. We both played the game, so we went into this pretty much knowing what to expect. I don't know if I still have my little spoiler. There will be spoilers. I don't know if I have it still. I don't think I do. I probably should have had it, but I mean, the title of the stream was literally The Last of Us finale, so I'm assuming if you're here, you know that we're going to be talking about spoiler content. No. Yes, we're going to be, whoops, I just shook the whole thing. We're going to be talking about that Last of Us finale, so if that's something you don't want to hear about, that's your chance. Alice, oh my god, girl, you need to watch. You're cool with spoilers because I'll forget since it's not Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. Okay, that is all right.
Yeah, well, we can start non-spoilers. We can just get into.
Oh my gosh, everybody here needs to catch up. Nick Gundy has it. Yes, Josh likes it. Josh likes it. Colin hasn't watched it. Oh my goodness. Well, I don't want to be the bearer of spoilers for y'all, so we won't be offended at all ever if you are like, I don't want anything to be ruined. I'm gonna peace out for your own sake. Neither of us will judge you. It is okay. You will not hurt our feelings because I don't want to ruin anything for you. So now is your time.
Yeah.
We'll start non-spoiler though. That's a good idea, and then we can segue into it. So
you can certainly come back and watch later.
Sabersmith.
If you want to recap.
Yes.
And deep dive back into it.
Yes. Literally finished the game right before the series came out. That is perfect timing. Not watched the episode yet, but played the game, so spoil away. Yes, okay. So for those of you who know what's going to happen, But yes, I want to hear your thoughts.
I know
we literally have not talked to each other because Tom watched in the other room while I filmed my reaction here, so we have not debriefed with one another yet. So what are you thinking?
Get philosophical here. This story will stand the test of time for eternity. I don't care how many times you play this story or watch this story. It is unbelievable. This story is so good. And it is so powerful. And I mean, I was sitting there as for the entire last 20 minutes of that episode with goosebumps just the entire time. Goosebumps out of partially nostalgia to, playing the game and seeing the story because it's the same. It's pretty much the exact same except the new piece at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But also how they made it even darker in the show format than in the game format. But I had goosebumps the entire hospital scene onward, and it's such a powerful story, and it's brutal. But this, for some reason, this has like stuck with me forever, and it is so impactful, and it's really hard to describe. And for those of you who have not seen it or know anything about the show, never played the game, it's more than a zombie show.
Yeah, right? I would say, especially the way that they did it here for HBO, zombies was 2%, I feel like, of the content.
Yeah, well, they're not even zombies.
Yeah.
Right? Zombies are come back to life. Right? Zombies are a dead human, and they come back to life.
Thank you, Jerry. Yes, I have to respond to your email, but thank you. Oh my God, I'm so glad that they arrived. Sorry, I just had to. Oh my God, Jerry, you're too kind. Oh, I'm going to respond to your email, I swear. I literally thought about it today, and I was like, oh my God, I never answered him. Sorry, sidebar.
Yeah, no, shout out to you, Jerry. Hope you enjoy them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's more than a zombie show, because these are not zombies. The infected are not zombies, right? They are humans that are alive that turn into, they're still alive inside, but they are being controlled by the fungus that's taken over their brain. And there's the humanity is still very much alive in there, which makes it even more tragic. But like you said, the show is not zombie. It's not infected focus, right? Like the infected are in there. You see them.
Yeah. I'm almost shocked because it's kind of jarring, the difference between the game. That is one aspect of the game that the show didn't tap into as much. I feel like they had it when necessary, but it wasn't oversaturated. In the game, by the time you are finished, you are effing done. Like you are, because you're fighting infected like the entire time. I feel like you can't go any. Their effort, like, it's a way more crucial part of the game, obviously, because there's combat. Like, the game is 10 hours worth of, gameplay. A lot of it you are fighting the infected. So I felt like it was almost kind of refreshing that they included them tastefully in the show. But it wasn't like, oh my God, over the top. If anything, I feel like they could have included them a little bit, like, more even. But I think they capped it at a good, because I think Neil himself has said, we don't want this to be remarked as just a typical zombie show. Like, that's not what this is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they were included into a level so that you realize why humanity is the way that it is and how the downfall happened. Mm-hmm. So it's there to keep you in check and remind you that, hey, yeah, all the humans in the show are awful. They're every other group of humans you run into are just, have gone to hell, and they're awful, and they have their own quirks, and they're murderous savages. They may or may not like to eat humans. So
wait, I was thinking about this today. I was like, I wonder if Pedro or maybe Bella's even at that stage. Like, I don't know, but I wonder if the people who are in the show, who are on the red carpet, like literally at the event right now, that's gonna stink, because they probably just want to. The event
started an hour earlier than the show.
Exactly. So they're like in there right now. They're probably announcing awards and stuff. I don't know. But they're probably like, I just want to go on Twitter and see what people are saying. Like, the timing definitely stinks the way that lined up. To answer Alice's question, what are the cordyceps? It's essentially like a fungus that historically can't adapt or survive within a human host, but within the universe of The Last of Us, it has evolved and can now coincide and survive in a human body. So it starts to it's extremely highly contagious. So it doesn't turn you into a zombie necessarily, because a zombie, when I think of a zombie, I think you've died and you've come back to life. Cordyceps, as Tom mentioned, you don't die, you just get overtaken.
Yeah, you lose all motor function to the cordyceps, right? But like, your brain is still alive and functioning. You're still in there. Your soul is still there.
Right?
You just don't control your movement.
That's the biggest question. It's like, are you still even yourself? Like, how do you ever fully lose yourself? Like, Are you in there? Can you feel yourself like losing your mind?
Yeah,
Like,
well, that's
what
the
is the
fear.
extent? Yeah, so there's like a mystery surrounding like if you're killing an infected, that's still a person in there who never maybe fully left. So, but yes, I did. Did you want to finish what you were
I forgot what I
saying?
was saying.
No, you were saying about how the story stands the test of time, which is exactly what I was saying in my not to spoil my review, but in my post reaction kind of recap. I was saying the same thing. Like, there's nothing that I wish for more. Maybe world peace, obviously, but like one thing I really would love would be to rewind time and go back to the first time I ever played this game. And it was Tom who made me play this game. And you guys maybe know me now. Like, I like to game. I have no problem calling myself like a gamer. Not that I have good skills, but I don't shy away from that title because I enjoyed playing games and video games. Like, there was a time when I wasn't big into that stuff. I'm sure you can still tell because my skills are not up to par, but there was a time where I really didn't like games, specifically violent games like shooting, killing, blood. It was not about that. And Tom tried to convince me to play this game, The Last of Us, which had already been out for like 10 years. I think
Well, it came out in 2013.
Never mind, I lied. And I think I played it. When did part 2 come out? Because I think you made me play it.
2019?
Yes.
Or beginning of 2020.
Yes.
When part 2 came out.
So close to 10 years. Yeah. Rounds up to 10 years. So I think Tom had me tried to convince me to play it, in the lead up anticipation to part 2 was coming out. And I was reluctant, but he phrased it as this is one of the best, not only just the best games I've ever played, but the best story that I've ever experienced or witnessed. And I was like, okay, well, that's tough that's big talk.
Yeah, that is big talk. That's very big talk.
So I couldn't say no to that. So, I got started playing reluctantly, was scared out of my absolute mind, playing the entire time. But after, I began to see what Tom was saying in these major moments would happen in the game and all this heartbreak and all this just crazy effing stuff. Like, I think the show upheld, you think, how could things get worse? And they just find a new way, a new storyline, a new side plot to just make you realize, oh, they can. Neil Druckmann just, I don't know, I'll say it again, I don't know how this man sleeps at night knowing that he came up with this. Because it's truly just the biggest mind-blowing heartbreak that I feel like you've ever experienced, but also just an incredible story about humanity and whatnot. And I remember I finished the game and I was like, I'm so glad you made me play that. Because it is life-changing. It's life-altering. And I feel so like, again, I don't shy away from calling myself a gamer. I wouldn't be embarrassed if somebody asked me and I'm like, oh yeah, I love video games. But I still feel like, ooh, what was that ripping outside? Did you hear that? But I still feel like shy to maybe tell people like, oh, you should play Battlefront, or just because I don't know, I don't want to, something about that. But I never would hesitate to tell somebody, frickin' you have to play The Last of Us. You have to. There's no choice. There is no choice. So I had the same immediate thought, this finale here was, I would say, extremely faithful. With the exception of a few changes, there wasn't the huge flood and the tunnel. Yeah. There were a few things that went differently, but nothing egregious. Same with the rest of this show. Any changes they've made have been for the sake of altering things to perform better for the film and television lens, versus some things are just different in the game because you're getting the combat or the that kind of aspect of things. So for literally, though, I would say this episode was the most faithful to its counterpart in the game. Word for word, scene for scene, run, everything, the layout of the hospital, everything.
Yeah, it's up there. It's definitely up there with keeping the continuity. Yeah. But it makes sense because it's such a powerful ending, right? And in the In the aftermath, where the creators talk about the show, I mean, Craig Mazin was like in tears talking about how emotional the story is, and he was saying like, I'll stand by this. I mean, this is the greatest story in the game genre of all time,
Yep.
and it's powerful to a level that I can't even describe, and that's exactly the reason why I wanted to make the show.
Yeah,
and it ends on that.
Wow, I didn't watch the BTS interviews.
Yeah.
I gotta go and do that.
Yeah.
We've been neglecting the chat a little
Yeah.
bit. Let's catch up and
Yeah.
see what people are saying. That last episode before the finale just drank the Kool-Aid. Oh, yes. So glad Joel and Ellie did what they did. Yes, episode 8 leading up to this was wild. I loved the episode, but the ending was very abrupt. Now, Micah, did you play the game? Because that's literally exactly how it goes down in the game. Like, exact.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it leaves you feeling like, what?
Yeah.
Like, that was my initial reaction afterwards, because you picture it from that perspective too. Like, you've just finished 10 plus hours of gameplay and you are literally like on the brink of your insanity.
Yeah.
And you've just been through everything. You just watched all. Not only did you just watch all that go down, but you play as Joel while all that goes down. So you were just like poning everybody left and right. It's the final boss. All that emotional ish happens, and then it cuts to that final scene and just goes to the credits, and you're just like, ah!
Yeah. Well, it's not just it ends. It ends with the biggest lie in the history of lies.
Yeah.
And the acknowledgement that, are you lying? No.
Okay.
Done. Credits.
I think it's
and you're like, what is this? That's it? Like, Ellie's just gonna go live the rest of her life with thinking that's the truth? That's a 2013 perspective. We're now in the 2023 perspective.
Yeah.
And we have a season 2 and a part 2 that goes into that, but I don't want to.
Well, that's another thing I was because saying in my review. Like, that hits way different when you do know what is to come. Like, the first time you watch it and there isn't a part 2 yet, it's like, what? You're kidding me.
No. And
you feel so like stupid almost, because you just played this whole game and got this amazing story, and you're like, tell me more. Like, what? Give me more of the story. And it's like, that is it.
Yeah, exactly, Charlie. Right? You hit that ending, you're like, are you serious? That's the end of the game? That's the end of the game. And then you wait 6 years for part 2. It's like 6 years in between the ending of the show and the game. That is the exact same. Before you get some type of explanation of what happens in the aftermath. Unreal. I am so thankful that I did not have to wait that full time. Like, I didn't play it in 2013 when it first came out.
I'm so glad that you had me play it right before the second game came out, so exactly. I really didn't have to wait.
Didn't have to wait. I mean, I had to wait years, maybe 4 years. Maybe?
Yeah, I think I remember you telling me. Now imagine you had to wait 4 years for this next game. And here we are. You said part 2 came out 2019, 2020, and already we're verging on. We don't even know if it's a given if there will be another game.
Yeah, it's been 3 years since part 2 came out.
Finale broke me so much. I'll never be fixed. Oh my God, Chandler. Wow, that is quite the review. Yeah, Kat, one of my colleagues, has said they've been very emotional watching the show after playing the game. That, I will give them that, because, again, that's why I didn't react to the majority of this season, y'all. I was like, I know everything that's going to happen. How am I not, this isn't a raw reaction, because I allegedly know, I think I know what's coming. But the show really proved, here I was still out here like, like jaw dropping during this finale, like shook, like out of breath, like shook. And I was like, how? I knew all this was going to happen. So that's another testament to the show. Like, I don't know how to describe the way in which they maintained that sense of like you are watching and experiencing it again for the first time through, even though you think you know what's going to happen. There's subtle twists or changes, or also just the added element of sometimes, I think especially here for this finale, the sensation of playing first person as Joel versus watching third person as Joel is very, very different. Watching it go down versus playing
Well, they also dialed it up.
Oh my god, yes.
In the show. They wanted to make it he was not surviving on the way through. He was genociding on the way through. I was stunned at the tonal difference between.
I know, I was like
in the game you play for the first time, you're like about to smash your control over your forehead because it's so hard.
Right.
But then in this, you're like, oh, there's no fear at all. There's no fear or anything. This is a man on a mission, and he is not going to be stopped, and no one is going to get in the way of his mission.
That's why he's the GOAT.
Yeah, and that's something that I was definitely certainly surprised about with the difference, or something that was amplified in the show over the game.
I'll be binge watching it this coming weekend. That's exciting, Jerry. Yes, I really I just want to go and rewatch the whole thing now. The hospital looked right out of the game. It was, and I did love that sequence of Joel walking to the pediatric wing, and the symbolism. He's walking past all these kind of like children's illustrations and like hand drawn, these like baby elephants. It's definitely emphasizing the nursery kind of vibe of the place, and he's coming fresh off of all that massacre, but then walking towards Ellie, and he's walking past all of this children's murals. It really, like, I loved that part, that moment kind of mediating between the two portions, because it really, like, it was like, oh my god, what did we just watch? The humanity, but also she's just a kid. Like, she is actually 14, and it struck me because I think it's interesting. Throughout the entirety of this show, she like it's very clear that she's young from the gate. She's 14, and even Joel and oh my god, what's her name? Tess was like, you're like 14, like sheesh. No. They make a point to show how young she actually is and how much she has to mature in this world, but she still keeps that spirit of, like, she did such an amazing job of being a believable 14-year-old. Mm-hmm. She had that teenager energy, that naivete, or I think that's what it's pronounced. Versus the way she was acting in this episode, she's obviously very changed. She was way more jaded, because of literally anybody would be if they were almost murdered by a pack of cannibals and worse things. Like, it was extremely jarring, her experience in episode 8, obviously. So I think they made a point to show that, like, she had a more mature and jaded sense about her in this episode that obviously even Joel noticed, but it was a stark contrast from her, like, happy-go-lucky, the cheerfulness that she kind of has had leading up to it. So I loved that moment, really dialed it back and showed, like, yes, she's been hardened by all these things that no child should ever have to go through, but at the end of the day, like, she's a kid. That's what I loved about that scene. They really focused on the children's hospital wing there to, like, dial it back. And I kind of, I don't know how you felt, but during that whole sequence, I was like, am I still rooting for Joel? And in that moment, when they focused back into that, and remind you, she's a child on the operating table here, and they're about to sacrifice her. I was like, can't blame him. I can't blame him.
Yeah, well, I think that goes back to why this story stands out and why it's so special. Because you think about the main story beats of the series and how the story plays out. It is dark. It is unbelievably dark, and it touches nerves that you didn't know could be touched. And I think the reason is because it has to, like, if you put yourself into Joel's shoes or Henry's shoes or Tess's shoes, like you're thinking about, oh, this my daughter or my younger brother is having to deal with these issues, and I have to protect him. Like if you the reason the story is so powerful is because, like, I couldn't imagine having to go through that myself, right? Like in the very first episode, very opening of the game, you're Joel, you have to rescue your daughter, and she dies in your arms. And it's like, how are you supposed to move on from that? How do you move on from that? And that's something new that they added into the show a little bit, explaining how it is extremely hard. And that just happens over and over and over and over and over again. It's like, you just thinking, like, how do these people deal with these story points that happen and then move on? It's impossible for us to understand it because we're obviously not living in their world, right? But I think this story is just so powerful because it shows you moment after moment after moment unimaginable things that the only good people left in this world have to deal with, and then they keep moving on and they keep pushing forward. And I mean, it's just it's so good. It's so good.
Let's catch up on the chat. I love the live Oscars reporting here. Shout out to you guys because I want to know too. I love this point from Micah. People that never played the game but watch the show, season 2, are gonna freak out. Oh my god, I know. I'm not ready for that still. I did play the game, but I thought they were gonna expand. I know. I was hoping so a little bit as well. Like, I was like, are they gonna go further?
Expand on what?
The finale, because we're going back to Micah's point about how it just so abruptly ended.
Oh, like they would go past that?
Yeah, or like, I don't know. There were, I don't want to say because it's a spoiler, but there were some people thinking that we were actually going to see.
Oh, yeah.
In this episode. I was like,
well, no. I think they definitely are trying to intentionally prepare for what comes in season 2.
Well, I feel,
with the brutality of the ending, they ramped it up.
Yeah.
I mean, they really ramped it up. And the emphasis on very particular person of interest who dies in the finale, they made it clear that this person was not just killed, but savagely shot in cold blood. And they give you an after shot confirming that man is dead as a rock. Done. Toast. Cooked. He's dead.
Oh my god. Okay.
So they're definitely trying to shift the focus in the direction of what's going to come in season 2 to try and make it more justifiable what happens.
Yeah.
Which I think, assuming that the gap between season 1 of the show and season 2 of the show is, a couple years, that'll be fine. I think for those of you who aren't aware, there was definitely some outrage when the second game came out.
But it was also a
6-year difference in between. And so, for 6 years, that was the story. And, season or part 2 comes and tries to progress the story. But at that point, it really went against nostalgia. And I mean, after playing through part 2 again, I mean, I think the story is flawless and it just continues and it makes complete sense. And it expands and it does so many good things. But initially you're thinking about part 1 and all the good moments of part 1. But this ending is not a good moment. This ending is a decision is made. The ramifications of that decision were executed with no mercy. And then there's a cover-up. Total cover-up for the protection of the innocence of a child. and then it ends. And so the last 20 minutes of this show and 30 minutes of the game are just you can't gloss over it, right? There are consequences, and there have to be, repercussions based on what happened. But then when you don't touch the story for 6 years and come back and you're looking at it, you're not really thinking about all that. But in the heat of the moment, like after that, watching that episode, you're like, especially the TV show, because the TV show really, I mean, watching it, like you were saying, watching it and playing it are two different things. When you're watching it and you're not trying to figure out how to survive and how to kill everybody and how to move forward, and you're just sitting there looking at the facial expressions and the emotions and the brutality, you're like, it gives you a different perspective.
It's totally different.
Yeah.
Like when you're playing it, by your 10th try, you're like happy as you're killing everybody. You're like, yes, come on, I need to finish this. Like, it's an entirely different sensation. From a gameplay perspective, you're driven to a point of, oh my God, this is your objective. And they become your enemy. And after 11 tries, you're just like at wit's end and you're ready to just get this over with. Versus watching it in the show and you don't have player control and he is going absolute ham. It was almost like, dial it back a little bit. Like, it's definitely a different experience. I like this question from Julian, and I'm open to hearing what other people think too. Do you think the season was too short? I will say, I do feel a little bit like they maybe could have afforded an episode between 8 and this one almost, but it's like, it is how it is in the game.
Yeah.
But part of me was like, I feel like almost we got here so quick. Maybe that's because they did have 2 episodes in the middle that deviated and had different subplots and storylines, Bill and Frank and Ellie and Riley. So I think they maybe could have stretched things out maybe a little in the middle of the season to balance that, because I know that is a qualm that some people have had. Like, a lot of the season feels like it's been focusing in different areas, and not moving the central plot necessarily, even though all this backstory is still world building. And I would argue that Riley and Ellie's, backstory is a huge portion of the game and one of the most heartbreaking aspects of the game. So I don't know. I don't listen. It is rare, extremely rare. I feel like that I feel this good after like a season finale. You know what I'm saying?
Like, and satisfied with what you got?
Like satisfied, and like everything looking back, it was perfect. And I would not have changed much, because a lot of the time, sometimes it feels like a season finale makes up for maybe like, the rest of the season I didn't love, maybe, or like, but all the eggs are in that basket of the final episode, and it does a lot of the work to maybe, I don't know, improve upon things that you weren't a fan of whilst watching the entirety of the show. But I feel really good about like everything, and I think it's amazing that looking back, it's like the finale was amazing, but so is everything leading up, and that's the way it should be. It shouldn't have to necessarily be like, the finale has to be the best thing since sliced bread. So like if the question's out there, would I want another episode? Sure. Like, I wouldn't say no. And I think there are some things that they could have. I wouldn't have been opposed if they added an entirely new episode that was just a totally different storyline that isn't in the game.
With Bill and Frank.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like Joel and Ellie.
Kansas City.
That's true.
They expanded on that a ton. I have the opposite take. I think that if they had trimmed some of that side story focusing on other characters out, then maybe people would have been attached to the story more. Because I think what the game does arguably better is that it is just Joel and Ellie's perspective.
Yeah.
Right? The whole way through. You don't get anyone else's perspective really until the second game. And that other perspective is the complete opposite perspective and completely
It is
polarizing.
different.
But in the show, they focus on other characters, right, and their other perspectives. Like you get the whole Bill and Frank episode, where Joel and Tess and Ellie cameo. That's a world building episode. It shows you like, hey, here's how some people decided and were able to survive for 20 years, right? Then here's how the networking works, and it builds some backstory. And then you get to Kansas City and the Raiders, and you're like, okay, well, I don't care about this woman and what she's doing at first, right? You're like, I don't really. They're trying to explain what's going on in this city, but in reality, you're like, well, at the moment, I don't really care because I care about Joel and Ellie and where this story's going. But then when they wrap it up after the second episode of that arc, it helps again further the world building, further develops Henry and Sam's characters, lets you give you more backstory into what they're doing, which doesn't happen in the game. In the game, you're just Joel and Ellie. You run into Sam and Henry, and you have to survive together. And then they ditch you, and then they save you, and then the shebang happens at the end. But in the show, they took the time to kind of expand the lore and expand the world and give you some more backstory for these other characters. So I would say that if they wanted to, if there was going to be any adjustment to the timeline of the season, they would trim out those pieces and just keep it at Joel and Ellie's storyline. But I think the way they did it is, near perfection.
Oh, yeah, I would argue, because I know you felt that way about Kathleen's storyline, but I think an amazing thing that part 2 of The Last of Us does that a lot of people had gripes with, because it is hard to come to terms with when it's presented to you in such a way, but I think part 2, what I love about that storytelling is it shows, take a different person's perspective, and your heroes are not as amazing as they seem, and if anything, they are actually horrible people. I think, Kathleen's storyline was a nice way of injecting some of that into this, because from her perspective, her brother was murdered. And, Henry here, who's presented as this really peaceful, gentle, nice guy who, yes, did it for reasons that you can't fault him for either, but it's like from a certain point of view, everybody is a villain at some point in this world trying to survive, because everyone's fending for themselves to some degree. So it's like, what's the lesser of two evils? So I did like that about that whole storyline. But you are right that you do get, I feel like, way more time just Joel and Ellie in the game, but I think what they did certainly built the universe and kind of made up for the fact that, like, when you're playing the game, you get so acquainted with everything, like you're literally immersed in that world. So the world building is just inherent as you play through everything, versus when you're presenting something, an episodic format for TV, and they're not having all of this gameplay to get acquainted with everything. And I think it is a good way to get a sense of balance. Let's do a little bit of lightning round here, because I've been behind on the chat. I think the season was the best way to adapt a video game. Combat actions in video games are not easy to show on TV. Exactly.
Yeah. So the I just looked up Last of Us cutscenes, what the total runtime is. And if people have put together all the cutscenes from the first game, and it's roughly 3 hours, 3 to 5 hours. So essentially why the game is longer than 3 to 5 hours is because you're dealing with combat and exploring and all that stuff, right? But the cutscenes are primarily just the story beats, right? And so if you think about it, if you just take the story beats of Joel and Ellie, you get a 3 to 5 hour chunk.
Yeah.
So obviously with 9 episodes, run times over a half hour, 45 minutes plus each one, that's way more time to
build
focus
things
on. Than what the game does. And they don't fill it with exploring and, infected horde, infected horde, infected
Yeah.
horde.
But there is a lot of non-combat, not cutscene dialogue and interactions that are happening between Joel and Ellie too. Like, even as you're just walking around maybe, or exploring a room or a space, like they have conversations. So yeah, it's just a different way of how do you, build all that in the game or in television as well. Jerry's never played part 2. Oh god. You're in for it, Jerry. Kevin, what's up? Good to see you. I wonder if they're actually going to shoot season 2 in Seattle because I live here. Oh, that would be so cool. That would be really cool. I do wonder because they filmed, this season in Canada, correct? And that takes place in, so I guess we'll find out. Sorry, we are extremely behind. I love this Oscars live chat going on. Oh, so you're saying that each season will be the same thing from different character perspectives? No. I think season 2 is still going to follow. I don't want to say anything, but actually, who knows? Because gameplay of part 2 is drastically different setup formula, way that they tell the story and characters that you have to play as.
And it's like twice as long.
It's
the game is twice as big as the first.
Yes, because you are playing 2 different sides of the story and it takes a whole different perspective. So I think that is one of the biggest things to be seen going forward. How are they going to tackle that in season 2? But I feel like the world's just going to be on fire when that comes out. Like, if you've played part 2, you know what I'm talking about. Lord,
I hope not, because
Fal loved the finale. That's good.
It really is.
Oh, let's go. Top Gun won Best Sound.
Good.
Nice. Tom loves Top Gun. Right. Especially knowing part 2, it's like, ooh. Part 2 is a perfect sequel to the story. A great story. Yeah, my respect for part 2 has definitely escalated. I think everybody is having the same kind of pattern. The initial, more, I don't even want to say anything. When you first play part 2, you are just like, it's jarring. You don't know how to feel. You might be pissed. That's how I felt. Mm-hmm. And then give it time and you start to have a whole new appreciation and just respect to Neil for taking that approach to tell the story, probably knowing that people were going to effing lash out and be so aggravated and so mad and so pissed at him. He took a lot of heat, I'm pretty sure, when part 2 came out because people were not thrilled at all. But I do feel like with the research, the show here, and people are probably replaying the games. You replayed part 2, and I feel like it was the second time through of you playing that we both kind of came around a little bit, and we were like, this is actually pretty genius. This is a pretty ballsy way to do it, and it's a bold form of storytelling, and with a huge lesson. And I think that I love the way Neil is able, uses your own humanity against you with his storytelling to be like, check your own moral compass, It's definitely wild.
Yeah.
I really want the season on Blu-ray. I know, I want more of these BTS. I want the full unedited commentary behind the scenes, all these interviews and everything. I hope they have it all someplace.
Yeah, it's good. It's really, the end of the episode bits with Craig and Neil are really good. Really good. And Pedro and Bella in this finale ending one had some really good things to say. So.
Oh my goodness. He goes into Mando mode this episode. He certainly does. But yeah, I just want to talk about part 2, but we'll save y'all from that discussion. But I'm wondering, what is, I think it's still a mystery. They've announced the second season. It's definitely confirmed. Which low-key, I was like, I said before my reaction, I would feel a lot differently right now if we didn't know if the second season was in store. But I'm kind of, I was relaxed and relieved knowing that it's in the pipeline. At least I feel like you can enjoy a finale more if you know that there's like
Is it comfortable?
more content in store. Yes. But it definitely changes things. Oh, whoops. Oh, whoops. The mouse was backwards. That's funny. There's a making. Oh, wait. It literally just came out. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Geek Ledger. I know what we're watching tonight.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I actually low-key love that like studios are doing this more, like the gallery for Mandalorian. Pretty sure there was a documentary that you haven't watched. I should just watch it without you. Making of 1899 on Netflix, your favorite show.
That's the Kenobi one. The Kenobi one.
Yes, Kenobi Gallery, and here now, making of The Last of Us. Yes, thank goodness. Nick Gundy met Mando last night. Met quote unquote Mando.
He did meet Mando.
Wait.
He did meet Mando.
I think
he did meet Mando.
I think I have a picture, probably in my DMs. Hang on.
I saw that he met Mando.
Hang on. Whoops. Oh. It's loading. Hey! Oh my goodness. That's so cool. Oh my god, I gotta go back through. That is so cool. OMG. I am jealous.
Oh no, you missed it. Very cool. Cool. So cool. Is it just...
It happens at random. That was so cool. I'm jealous. Very cool. Yeah, no, the AI's smarter. It gets you when it's like in the middle of conversation versus like if you... So cool.
It was the perfect...
The weather is so cool.
It was the perfect gift that popped up, but I was too slow.
Dang it.
Too slow to get it.
I gotta go. Oh, peace out, Edward. Thank you so much for being here and your enthusiasm. I love it. This is a neat fact. HBO Max YouTube channel that is an accompanying podcast for Last of Us. Oh, I'm stupid. I think I knew that because it says that literally at the beginning of every episode. Oh, I would love to.
Yeah, has anyone here listened to that? Has anyone here watched that or listened to that at all? I haven't.
Yeah, no. I would like to watch or listen rather. But a lot of podcasts, too, also have visuals, I feel like, on YouTube as well these days. So we got to check that out. Oh, my God. That is so cool, Nick. Oh, my goodness. I've always wanted to go to, like, a John Williams concert. They're probably lit. Not yet, but I will now. I'm going to listen after the live. I know. We're going to go listen. We're going to go. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about for the finale? I'm trying to think, like... I think one thing about this whole show is they do a phenomenal job of, and there were some twists and heightened things that they just dialed things up a notch to the point of you're like, this is even harder to watch than it was in the game, which was, you guys know, that was my biggest hesitance going into the show. Not that I was ever not wanting this. I was on the hype train for this show from day one. But one thing I was really curious about was, are they able to maintain the impact of a story that you experience for the first time in first player, and you play through it and it's grueling and you spend literally 10 plus hours, living through this and getting super invested. Can they recreate that for just the third person viewing experience when you're not hands-on involved playing through it yourself? And they totally proved me wrong. They were like, frick yes, you can do that, and we can do it even better, because they dialed everything up. And I think that was a super successful part of how they were able to maintain all of that shock factor and the tension and the impact that some of these things have. Like, literally, even just starting with, like, Tess's death is worse in the show, frankly, than it is in the game. They found a way to make it even creepier and more upsetting. I would argue, the whole aspect of Sam and Henry hits harder than it does in the game, and that's one of the most moving parts of the game. Like, obviously, Bill and Frank's storyline, I think, was the biggest deviation from the game out of everything now that the season's complete, but total, like, the changes they made there made it an entirely different story and all the more emotional. You know, David, don't even get me started. Like, that will never not be creepy, no matter what. Like, that is one storyline that you can tell, and I'll never not be, like, freaked out by it.
Yeah, well, they decided to give additional backstory on David, which just made his character even more...
yeah.
Even more of a character
more
than in the game. Because in the game, they didn't really expand on his backstory at all.
Yes.
You just knew what was happening now, and you're like, okay, this guy deserves to get his head bashed in a million times.
Yeah.
But in the show, they decided to, let's make you hate him now, but let's also make you realize he's a complete freak show from his past as well.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have more reason to want his head to get bashed in a million times.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the ending, the hospital scene, the rampage. They make it feel like a true, rampage, a true man on a mission, at any cost type of scenario. Sure, in the game, are there more fireflies? Yeah. Do you die a bunch of time before you beat it? Yeah.
Does it take you 17 tries? Maybe.
And yeah, the game is you get distracted by why you're doing what you're doing. You're just saying, oh, this is a game. I'm trying to survive. I'm trying to beat the level. And then you get to the surgery, the operating center. But the show is, it's storyline all the way through. You're not worried about surviving. You're not worried about you trying to do it. You're just watching Joel do what he is set out to do. And you're just taking that all in, which is something that I was not expecting. I don't think either of us were expecting going into the finale. And I think if anyone on this planet is incredibly thrilled with how this show ends, it's Neil Druckmann, because seeing that perspective of what happens makes it so much easier to accept the fact of what happens in Last of Us Part 2.
Totally.
And so I think that Neil is somewhere right now. He is very, very happy. He's a very, very happy man with
he's vindicated
with how this season finale airs and how people are receiving it.
Yeah.
And what it shows on the screen.
I'm actually really happy that, because again, like, I don't think it's an over exaggeration to say he got a lot of vitriol and hate, and a lot of people blaming him, like, for tanking the franchise, like, when Part 2 came out. And again, we were never part of that. We were never that harsh, but we both were, like, really jarred and shocked and slightly disappointed at times. We were like, are you kidding? As we were playing Part 2, because it's such a new... Nobody's ever told a story like that and flipped the narrative on you to make you as the audience, make you that enraged as the audience member. But it's to show you, look how mad you are right now, but imagine what people from the other side think. I'm really glad that he's kind of having his renaissance right now, and The Last of Us is totally just, like, the most popular thing on Earth currently. You didn't press it hard enough. Oh, God. That's cute. But, yeah, I mean, I'm imagining, the demand. People are going to be playing the first game. People who've never played it. Like, I imagine sales are going to go up after this. Like,
that's why they released a PS5 remastered version of Part 1.
Yeah.
So
I'm just glad that, because you can tell, like, I feel bad because, in hindsight, he didn't deserve any of the criticisms. Like, people really were talking as if the franchise was ruined. And it's one of the greatest, like, IPs ever, if you ask me. Like the story, the world, the characters, everything. Like it's so tough to beat this game, and now this show. It's literally one of the top rated shows in the world right now. So I'm glad he was never deserving of all of the criticism that came his way, and Naughty Dog's way. You know, like the game developers, they got quite a lot after part 2. So I'm happy to see that people are kind of coming around and seeing things now. Like I think this finale totally gave a new perspective, and kind of makes it easier to believe what comes down the line, for sure.
Yeah, it is interesting. We don't want to get into part 2
Charlie!
so much.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Charlie.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
McBots. We got to plug it more often. But if you guys aren't aware, Tom has his own channel that he runs with his brother and some of their friends, or whoever happens to be a guest at the time when they're playing games. But if you ever need a break from... I haven't done gameplay in a long time, but if you want a refresher from my god-awful gameplay and want to watch somebody who actually knows how to play video games, that's the content over on Tom's channel. He makes very funny edits and stuff like that, and posts all of these Battlefront kill streaks. So I need to plug it more often, but I'm sure a lot of people still aren't aware. He has his own channel. It's called McBots. Go check it out. Thank you, Charlie. Yes, he's been a supporter since day one.
He has. A legend.
I was in town hanging out with my brother when he started playing part 2, and when that scene happened, he was effing pissed. Everybody was. Everybody was irate. Everybody was livid. What is shaking?
You. The chair touching the desk is shaking.
Oh, I thought I wasn't touching the desk.
No.
There we go.
Yeah, and I mean, even Craig Marzin, the producer of this show, said that...
Mason, I think is his name.
Is it Mason?
There's no R, yeah.
Craig Mason. Sorry, Craig, if you're watching. But, you know, he said that, I mean, the second game is twice the size, and there's more than one season's worth of material in that game. So, very, very interested to see how they slice up that second game. And put it in a, television adaptation.
I vote that they bring back what they used to do this in the old days, and they actually still do it with like super long running shows like Grey's Anatomy. I'm pretty sure they'll split the season into 2 parts. Actually, kind of what they've done here with Manifest. It's technically like season, final season, part 1 and part 2. There'll be like a break in the middle of the season, but not super long. Like Manifest here, we're waiting like another year, right?
I don't know.
I forget.
Well, I think the 2 rumors were this April and this June, so not long.
Oh, never mind. But yeah, that's a fine break. Like it's been a couple months, right? Like you have the first part of the season, and then there's a little mid-season break, and then they come back for the second part, because how are they going to split things up? This is turning into, maybe we need to have a whole separate stream here for part 2. I don't want to deviate too much, but anybody has any last things they want to share? I'll be posting my reaction shortly for this finale here. Oh my goodness, you should get into the Aussie servers for Battlefront, Tom. Most people are hopeless. Not a lot of people play Battlefront anymore. Like when Tom tries to get into a lobby, it takes like so much longer, I feel like.
Yeah, it depends on when you when you try and play. But the lobbies are definitely shorting.
I love this question from Alice. If you could play a character in the next season, who would you want to play? I think the only character I'd be... Oh, I know who you would say. I can't. No. I think
Dina.
No, I don't look like Dina. I don't look like Dina. That would be sweet.
No one looks like anyone in the show.
The actual face actress does. She's a real life person. The face actress for Dina. I'm sure she's gunning for that role. I want her to have the role.
No. There's a voice actress and the face actress.
Yes. I think I could play All right, I would have to like chop off my hair or get a wig.
No one looks like anyone.
I think I could play Mel, maybe. That would be a fun role.
You could play Mel.
Because she's like she's not super bad.
You could play Mel.
Yeah, I think that could be fun.
You could play Mel.
Yeah. So,
or you play
Neil,
Liv.
Craig, play who?
Liv. The Scar boy.
Lev,
yeah.
No.
Or his sister.
Not at all. Literally not at all. That will be exciting though, because Emily Swallow is.
That's true.
They
Emily
better
Swallow
bring her in.
Is in part 2.
They better bring her in.
Yeah, that is very true.
So 2 more seasons. Who knows?
I hope that season 2 of the show is just part 2 of the game. I hope they don't split part 2 up between multiple shows or seasons, because I think part 1 of the game is the beginning, part 2 of the game is the middle. We have to get a part 3 of the game that continues where they left off at part 2, because part 2 leaves off on, yet again,
it's unfinished.
It's not as bad. It's not as bad of a abrupt, brutal ending as part 1. Like it's still a
yes.
There's a lot that is still going to happen after this, and we're going to tease you and lay some foundational seeds, but we're not going to give you anything.
Right.
So I would hope that it's a beginning, middle, and an end, and you get a season 1, 2, 3.
I feel like
because where I think they would split up part 2 into 2 seasons would be infuriating, which is basically how they split up.
It would be tough. It would be really tough.
You get day 1, 2, 3, bam, and then you go back and you go 1, 2, 3 again. And I would think that they would split it based off of that. You get the one perspective one season, one perspective another season, and that's how they would do it.
Yeah.
Which I think from the way that the storytelling perspective, looking back on it, is very impactful, and I'm glad they did it that way. But from a television viewer experience, if they did it that way, I don't know how that would fly, because then they did it already in the game, where basically your main character that you're in love with is just not part of the picture.
All right, you're spoiling things. Shut up! You're spoiling
Sorry.
things. On that note, before Tom unleashes any more secrets about part 2 for nobody who has played it yet, I think we're gonna wrap things up. So thank you guys so much for joining. I appreciate it. We need a petition to get into The Last of Us. Hey, fan cast me, guys. That's how it happens these days. That's my goal. Like, somebody just plant a seed on Twitter. But yes, thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. I know. We haven't had dinner yet, low-key, and I actually low-key really want to go check out that making of The Last of Us. But maybe we'll do another live this week. Tom is saying that he might be willing to do some Dork Discourse more regularly scheduled this week. So we've been doing it on Sundays here to coincide with The Last of Us. But now that Mando, oh my God, like there's so much going on. Like we didn't even talk about Mando or anything. This was just solely dedicated to The Last of Us. Oh, thank you, Sabersmith. That means so much.
Saber.
Really, really, really appreciate that. Oh my God, you're the best. You just made my day. Thank you so much. It's hard not to talk and spoil. I know. That's why I'm going, because Tom's already getting excited over here. He's getting excited over here. So I'm going to cut the cord before it's too late. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. We might do another Dork Discourse to pregame or follow up Mando maybe Wednesday, maybe.
Yeah, probably Wednesday.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if later, like if we did it Tuesday, it'd have to be later.
Whoa.
So I think Wednesday we could do it early.
Tuesday, yeah. I also do like Evil Ewok, so
yeah.
I think Wednesday could be a good middle of the week Mando recap day. That could be fun. So stay tuned for that, folks. We'll keep you posted. But until then, have a great rest of your what?
Preston's trying to nerf me. He's trying to tell me to calm down. Preston, you watch the show?
Oh my goodness.
You watch the show?
Oh my goodness.
You can't be calm.
All right.
You got to be juiced up.
All right. On that note, thank you guys.
Before we leave, this is our 26th Dork Discourse.
Yeah, it is.
So the last one we did was the 25th episode. So
yeah.
For everybody who has been along on the ride with us for now the first 26 episodes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun. mean, we started it like a year ago.
Yeah, shout out if you know the origins. The very first video that we did, which was not even... It was an unintentional... It was the birth of Dork Discourse. It was the should Anakin and Obi-Wan faced off in the Kenobi series debate. And Dork Discourse was born.
Yep.
And yeah, we kind of low-key, like... We were like, have we hit 25 yet? And I checked our playlist and I was like, we hit exactly 25. Yep. And I just wasn't keeping track. So... halfway to 50, y'all. That's right. Alice totally remembers. Yeah, Tom hasn't whipped out his tux in a long time.
We need a... If someone throws out a what we know is going to be a heated debate topic.
Good debate topic. I think there were some good ones about Grogu and whatnot for season 3, who saved him from the temple. So I think there's
we could do a... Well, we kind of... I mean, that was pretty much the entirety of the last...
Did Mace Windu survive?
Discourse
Is he coming
episode
back? Yeah.
Was who saves Grogu from the temple.
I know.
And we narrowed it down between Palpatine, Anakin, Mace, Barriss.
Narrowed down. Maul.
Maul, Anakin, Palpatine, Mace, or Barriss. One of those 5 are who saved Grogu.
Oh, goodness. Or
one of those 5.
Himself. It was Jar Jar. My God, Charlie.
No.
Charlie is standing by this theory. I love it. All right. With that note, we'll catch you guys at some point this week for another episode of Dork Discourse. We'll be talking about Mando, I'm sure. And Bad Batch too. Bad Batch has been on quite the roll. Yes. So we will be seeing you all then. Thank you guys so much for watching. We missed you guys. Good to chat with all of y'all. No, he used to just show up with a briefcase and pretend to like take legal notes as I was presenting like my argument.
False.
Okay.
Pretending. No, there was no pretending. There was legitimate debate strategy and legitimate debate.
Anyway.
There was
yay! Oh yes. On that note, Brendan Fraser won. Let's go. Everyone's childhood hero. On that happy note, thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of the Oscars if you're watching, and enjoy it. We're going to go watch the making of The Last of Us. I'm so excited to check that out. So we will see you guys again very, very, very soon.
Yep.
You always have
Thanks,
fun.
everybody.
Yeah.
Appreciate it as always. Hope everybody enjoyed the episode all in all. And for those who...
Yes, Preston, this is the story of my life.
That's how it always goes.
Yep.
I'm a man of the people. I'm trying to keep the party rolling. But I get shut down.
Oh my God. All right. Okay. What did you just do?
You're trying to nerf me. I'm trying to use the thingies.
Oh, okay. The memes. Okay.
Anyway,
all right. We're going. We're actually going. Bye, guys. We'll see you later this week.
Yes.
Peace out, everybody.
Have a good night.